everybody, it's me, Lala. Thanks for stopping by to watch another video. Welcome to our new subscribers and welcome back to our subscribers who have been with us for a while. I appreciate your support of me and of our channel, and I hope you enjoy this video. I do. I hope you enjoy this video. So, this is a Q&A video, and I haven't done one of these in quite a while, and you all know me pretty well, but I thought that it would be fun to just have you guys ask me some really fun and interesting questions, and I would answer them, and it would be a way for us to get to know each other better, or for you to get to know me better, and for our new circle members to get to know me a little bit. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in, but it's always fun to ask any questions that you all may have. So I have questions here. We are upstairs in mine and Chewy's bedroom. We are. I thought it would be nice to just have a different location, and I am sitting on the floor. The bed is directly across from me. My light source is right here, and it's actually not too bad, is it? It is not. And Pom Pom is right there. And we are doing the Q&A on my new phone, my new Samsung 8S, I believe it is. I'm not real sure. I know that there is a glare in my glasses as I move around a little bit, so I know that you will excuse that. But shall we get started? We shall. Thank you all so much for all of your questions. They were all very, very good, and I'm very anxious to answer your questions, and I will give each person credit that asked the question. I didn't have any doubles, which is very, very nice, and let's get started. Okay, and let me know what you all think of the picture, of the quality of the picture, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think, because this is the first time that I am doing this. So let's get started, shall we? We shall. Okay, question 1 is from Meredith, and we all know and love Meredith in our circle of friends, and she is also a fellow YouTuber. Meredith asked, if you could go back in time and live in any era, what would it be? And that's a very interesting question, Meredith. I think there are a couple of two particular eras that I would choose to go back to. I would find it very interesting to live in the era of Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls, and Ma and Pa. I think that would be very, very interesting. I don't think that I could do it as well as I probably should if I lived back in that time, because the women were very, very, very busy women, and they had to do a lot of work. So I don't think that I would be very good at living back during those times, but it would certainly be a time that I would want to go back to. Another era that I think I would really like to go back to and live in would probably be the 50s. Just for the sheer experience of it, and for just the innocence and the simple values and things like that. I think that it would be very, very it would be a lot of fun to go back to the 50s when everything was when everything was as it was. Does that make any sense at all? There wasn't a whole lot of extra static coming into people's lives, and there wasn't a lot of, it was a simpler time. It was a simpler time, and I definitely think the 50s would be one of the eras. So the era of the Little House on the Prairie, which I guess would be like back in the settling of the United States, parts of the United States, and also the 50s, I think would be a very, very interesting time to be in. So thank you so much for your question, Meredith. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, the next question is from Casey, and we all know and love Casey in our circle of friends, C.R. Wood. Casey asks, if you could take a trip anywhere and cost was not an issue, where would you go? There are 3 places I would go, and one of them is new. It's a new place to me, but I have absolutely fallen in love with it. So the first place I would go would be Maine. I've always wanted to go to Maine. I think that it would be an absolutely beautiful trip, whether it be spring, summer, winter, or fall. Depending on the season that I would go to Maine would depend on exactly what I would want to do. But Maine has always been someplace that I have wanted to go, and, hope to go in the future once Chewy retires and everything. I've always wanted to go to Iceland. I think it would be very, very interesting to go to Iceland. I would love to go and sit in their geothermal pools, the ones that are warmed from naturally warm and stuff. I think I would absolutely love to do that just to make my old bones feel good. And I think it would be very, very fun and interesting to drive that. I think it's called the Golden Highway, which is the complete route around Iceland, the perimeter of Iceland. And I believe it's called Route 4, but I think they call it the Golden Highway or something. And just to be able to see the sights and to experience the different areas of Iceland, I think that it would be very, very, it would just be a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And I would love to go up to Iceland during the Northern Lights to see the Northern Lights. I think that would be fun too. Another place that I would like to go is Ireland, and specifically Beltane Cottage. I have absolutely fallen in love with Colette's channel, and I would just love, love, love to be able to visit Beltane Cottage and walk around the permaculture that she has created for herself there, and just be able to enjoy all the beautiful, beautiful plants and the nature and just the absolute serenity of Beltane Cottage, and sightsee through Ireland. I think it would be a lot of fun. We have been in Europe, but we never went to Ireland. So that would be a lot of fun. So I would like to go to Maine. I would like to go to Iceland, and I would like to go to Ireland, and specifically Beltane Cottage in Ireland. So that was the Ireland one kind of creeped up on me last minute when I found Colette's channel, because I think it's absolutely fabulous. So that was that was one. I might want to go to someplace tropical, but it would have to be someplace that was not very populated, that you could just sit and relax and, sightsee if you wanted to, not sightsee if you wanted to. It would just be someplace to have an absolutely, down, relaxing vacation. But I can't think of any place tropical that isn't like really populated. So I typically, when we plan to go somewhere or we're thinking about going somewhere, we always head in the opposite direction of everybody else. So that's kind of why my choices are kind of northern choices as opposed to southern choices, if that makes any sense at all. But thank you so much, Casey, for your question. That was a good one. And hopefully someday I will get to all three of those destinations. Okay, so the next question's from Nadia. We're on question 3. So Nadia asked, did you plan your pregnancies to be as far apart as they were? So you all know that Chewy and I have 2 children. We have Bunny, who is 29, and we have Louise, who is 15. So our children are just about 14 years apart in age. Louise turned 15 in February, and Bunny turned 29 in July. So it's just almost 14 years apart. We did not plan to have children that far apart. When Bunny was less than a year old, I was diagnosed with cancer and had to go through that episode in my life. And unfortunately, dealing with that put a delay on adding to our family. And then once we could add to our family, we ran into fertility issues and maintaining pregnancy issues. So, as time went on, we always hoped to add to our family, but it was never planned that we would have our children almost 14 years apart. I don't think anybody plans for that to happen. I think that it just kind of, happens. And, you know, during that time, which was, you know, 25 years ago, the fertility field wasn't as advanced as it is now, and there were not a whole lot of things that could be done. Insurance didn't cover a lot of what insurance covers now, so any fertility treatments that people wanted to get, they usually had to pay for it out of their pocket, and you know, it could become very, very expensive. But we did not plan to have our children for almost 14 years apart. It would not have been a choice that I would have made, you know, or I would have planned for. We're very, very fortunate that we were able to, you know, bring Louise into our family, and we were very, very happy when we found out that she was on her way. But we did not plan to have our kids that far apart in age. It was never, we had always kind of discussed having 3 children, and you know, once Bunny was born and once I got sick, and after I was well, we still thought we would, you know, we would probably, you know, we were thinking 3 children. But as time went on and Bunny got older and that there were no additional children coming, we kind of, 3 children went to 2 children, and then, you know, once Bunny got even older and being a teenager and things like that, we honestly didn't think that we would have any more children, and then we were surprised with Louise. So we never did anything to keep any children from coming. I don't know if that's too much TMI or not, but if it is, too bad. But we never did anything to keep any children from coming, and we did what we could to encourage children, to encourage more children to come, but it just didn't happen that way. But, you know, it's funny because once I got pregnant with Louise, and I was pregnant with Louise, and we had Louise, and there, you know, we had such the big age gap. It was very interesting to meet people because a lot of people had that age gap in their family, you know, either with multiple children in between, or just with, you know, 2 children, and there was a large age gap. But it would not have been, it was not something that we planned for. It would not have been something that I would have planned for. But we are certainly glad that we, you know, that we were able to welcome Louise into the family. Okay, so Honey asks, what was your favorite after-school snack when you were young? That, I had to think about that, honey. I had to think about that. So I think it was probably like a Pop-Tart, or I can remember when I was probably in middle school, which would have made me anywhere from what, 11 to 13. I loved to do a piece of toast with a little bit of mayonnaise and then a slice of cheese. I always loved that. But I would say just anything quick, you know, quick and easy. It wasn't, I'm trying to think. I remember when I was very young, and I think I've brought this up to you all before, when I was very, very young, I can remember either it was before I went to school, kindergarten, or when I came home from kindergarten, my mom would, I can remember eating Campbell's chicken noodle soup with a half of a bologna and cheese sandwich and Ovaltine. I can remember that. And I can remember sitting in the living room on the floor eating that, my mom watching The Edge of Night and her ironing. So I think that it was probably just something quick that I could grab. Crackers, cheese and crackers. I did like cheese and crackers when I was young. The cheese toast with mayonnaise, I liked that too. Pop-Tart, maybe. Cinnamon toast. I loved cinnamon toast when I was young too. But I don't remember any specific after school snack that I would have. I don't think that it was like a routine thing for me, that I would be very hungry when I came home from school. And you have to remember too, back then, a lot of families ate in the 5 o'clock hour when the dad got home, because usually my dad would get home from work and we would eat very, very shortly after that. So there wasn't a whole lot of time between me getting home from school and my dad getting home from work and us having dinner. So I don't know if I like had a routine snack every day, but those are the snacks that I think I remember eating the most. Ritz crackers with cheese, loved that. Loved the Ritz crackers with cheese. And can I tell you, here's something that just popped into my mind. I would put a Ritz cracker in my mouth, and then I would take a swig of orange juice and hold it in my mouth and let the orange juice soften the Ritz, and then I would chew the Ritz up. And that was really, really good to me for some reason. But anyway, so thanks for that question, honey. I appreciate it very, very much. Okay, so the next question's from Meredith, and she's a fabulous fellow YouTuber. She vlogs every day, and she is a Circle member also. And Meredith asks, what made you start on YouTube? I don't know what made me start on YouTube, Meredith. Honestly, I really don't know. Chewy had been watching YouTube videos for a while here and there, and I knew about YouTube, and I think just one day I was on YouTube, and I came across a Dollar Tree video, and then, I realized that people, like, showed the stuff that they bought at the Dollar Tree and showed hauls. I didn't even know they were called hauls, but, did that kind of stuff. Louise was getting older, and as our children get older, they don't need us as much anymore. And so it was just something for me to do, to kind of just have something to do during the day to keep me busy. And I don't really know why. I don't really know why I started on YouTube. It looked like a lot of fun. Now, I actually have a couple of videos that I posted unofficially on my channel quite a while back, before I started officially on YouTube. And those are just like parenting videos of, just parenting videos. They weren't anything that caught on or anything like that. And then when I saw the Dollar Tree haul that day that I saw, I thought to myself, this looks like fun. I think I could do this. And so I just started doing it, and it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it, but I didn't necessarily stay in the Dollar Tree community. I started off in the Dollar Tree community, but I didn't stay in the Dollar Tree community. I don't shop enough to, I think, maintain a hauling channel or a thrift or a thrifting channel or a hauling channel or a shopping channel. That's not my niche. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of my segue onto YouTube, is to just kind of start Dollar Tree hauls. And but I realized pretty quickly that it was not something that I wanted to maintain, doing daily hauls or weekly hauls or anything like that. And, I was new to smartphones, so I didn't know about vlogging or anything like that. I knew, and you all know, that I love to talk. And so I thought eventually what I would definitely do would be to segue from doing hauling videos, specifically Dollar Tree hauling, into just doing chat videos or, specific topics or things like that. So, that's just for the fun of it, and for something to do. You know, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and Louise is getting older, and I don't, you know, I'm very, very fortunate that I do not have to go out to work if I don't want to, and I don't want to. So this was just something fun to, you know, for me to do, to kind of, you know, give mom something to do instead of, you know, I mean, I can only clean so much. So, you know, that's kind of why I started YouTube. I love to talk to people. I love to meet new people, but I don't like people, if that makes any sense either. So this is a way for me to be comfortable with meeting new people and forming friendships and relationships and things like that without having to physically meet somebody. I don't, you know, if that makes any sense at all. I don't think it did. As usual. But thanks for your question, Meredith. Okay, so Jane has a great question, and we all know Jane. She is our Irish lass in our circle of friends, and I absolutely love her. And Jane asked, when are you, Chewy, and Louise coming to Ireland to visit? Oh, sweet Jane, sweet Jane. If I could get on, if I had the bravery and the gumption to get on a plane tomorrow to Ireland to come see you, I certainly would do that. I certainly hope that in the future that I am able to visit Ireland and, you know, see you too. And I would love that. I would love that so much. I am not as comfortable a traveler as I was when I was younger. As I get older, just for you, Jane, as I get older, I find that I have more anxiety and more stress about traveling, and especially about traveling outside of the country. I would certainly go outside of the country to go to Ireland. I think it would be absolutely beautiful, and I certainly hope someday we are able to go to Ireland. I know that Chewy plans to retire in about 13 years. So I think he has made quite the decision that once he retires, he will, you know, we will travel around. We definitely would love to come back to Europe to visit, you know, all the places that we were back in the 80s. But definitely would love to do that one day, Jane. I absolutely would love to do that. I think it would be absolutely wonderful, and I look forward to it. So thank you for that question. Okay, so Kelly, Dina Cal 16, she asks, what is the one thing you would make universal in the world and why? So I think it would probably be outlets. I think outlets, you know, like the electrical outlets and stuff, I would probably make those universal. And I'm going to tell you why. And this might be strictly for a selfish reason, but I'm not quite sure. When we lived over in Europe, we would plug things in that were from the United States. And if you didn't have a converter from the whatever you were plugging in from the United States into the wall, if you didn't have a converter to plug into, you fried whatever you plugged in very, very quickly, because I guess the voltage or the current or whatever is different. I don't even understand it. But I think probably for people that travel internationally, and for, you know, Americans that travel internationally, it would probably be a lot easier for them, and probably a lot easier too for people who travel from Europe and all different parts of the world. travel to all different parts of the world. It would be easy if outlets were universal. Outlets and the type of electricity was universal. That way, you wouldn't have to worry about converters or adapters or anything like that to have to plug in, and you wouldn't have to worry about ruining your curling iron, your flat iron, your any blow dryer, anything like that. So I would be able to go to Italy and plug in my blow dryer and have it work just like that, not have to get an adapter or converter to plug it into, and then be able to use it safely, if that makes any sense at all. I know that there are some things that you can flip a switch on the back of it, and it'll go to like the European or the different type of electrical current or source or whatever. But I think it would probably be electricity and electrical outlets. And I think it would just make it easier for everybody around the world, and especially those people that travel to other countries or go to other countries. It would just make it easier. So that's what I think. That's what I think. That was a tough question, Kelly. Thanks a lot. That was a tough question. But it's always fun to answer tough questions. So thanks so much, Kelly, for that. Okay, I had to get up and stretch my legs a little bit, because guess what? They fell asleep. They did. Who didn't know? I'm sitting on the floor, so I can only go for a little bit at a time, and then my legs are completely asleep. And then I have to get up and wake them up and walk around a little bit and then sit back down. So anyway, thank you, Kelly, for that question. Okay, so the next one is from Lily, and she said, did your life turn out the way you wanted it to, and what would you change if you could? My life turned out better than I would have expected it to. As we go through life, we have an idea in our minds of how our life might turn out. And as we get to certain phases of our lives, we may have an indication of how our life will turn out if we follow that path, I think. Do you know what I mean? And so my life turned out better than I ever could have hoped it would. I wouldn't change. Well, that's not true. I would probably change the fact that Bunny and Louise are so far apart in age, and that I probably would have had more children had that been a possibility. But I think that's probably the only thing that I would have changed about my life. When we're young, like I said, when we're young, we think of marrying a prince and riding off into the sunset on a white horse and living in a castle, or marrying a rich man and having all the best of everything. And then, as we get older, our priorities change, and we kind of become more realistic as we get older. And I wouldn't change a single thing, not a single thing. And my life has turned out better than I ever could have thought it would, and better than I deserve it to be. So, and I know that. I know it every single day. I know that my life could have turned out so different, had I made a different decision or different decisions as I was going through my life. And it's so much better than I ever could have imagined it being. And I didn't know Chewy very well when I married him. I didn't know him for very long at all. And you know, he could have turned out to be a real jerk. He could have, but he didn't, thankfully, and he wasn't, and he never was. He never was. But, you know, had I made a different decision than I did, you know, my life could have been a lot different than it is. And I don't deserve the life that I have. At least I don't think I do. And, you know, it's wonderful. And I wouldn't change a single thing about my life. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't change a single thing about my life. I think it's absolutely fabulous. And I know that it is. So, I wouldn't change anything. Well, I might change, maybe not being so, hard on myself. I might change that about my life, but I don't know if that's if that's the concept you're talking about or not. But anyway, so thank you. Yes, I have a wonderful life. I wouldn't change anything about it. And it turned out better than I ever could have hoped it to turn out. So thank you for that question very much, Lily. So this is from Lisa. With Bunny being an older sibling to Louise, what was his reaction to becoming an older brother? So he didn't really show a reaction. This question's from Lisa. He didn't really show a reaction one way or the other. He was in 8th grade. He was in 8th grade when Louise was born. So, you know, right on the cusp of high school, kind of going into that broody teenage boy phase. And I have said this to quite a few people. I've said it to Bunny now that he is older. I said it to Chewy at the time. I've said it to a lot of my friends that Louise was probably the best thing that ever could have happened to Bunny at that particular time in his life. You know, he had been an only child, and we believed that he would be our only child. And so all of my attention was on Bunny. And as he was entering the teenage phase of his life, he really didn't want all of my attention. And so once we found out that Louise was coming, you know, my attention kind of diverted a little bit away from him. So, you know, all of my attention wasn't on him all the time. And, you know, in the particular age that he was and in the phase of boyhood that he was in, that was a good thing for him and probably a good thing for me too, to not be so focused on him, you know, during that phase in his life. Now, I still paid attention, very, very close attention, but it wasn't like this. Do you know what I mean? Because I had other issues that I had to make sure that I paid attention to. So, you know, I wasn't just like tunnel vision, pinpoint focus, laser focus on Bunny 24/7, you know, like I had been prior to that. So, but he was very, very happy. You know, he was a great brother. Again, the age difference between them, I think, was an obstacle when Louise was first born and Bunny was, you know, going to turn 14. I think that, you know, he really didn't, you know, he was happy that he had a sister and he was happy to be a big brother, but I don't really think that it, you know, it affected him in any big way other than the fact that, you know, he had a another genetic connection in the world than just Chewy and I. So he's happy. Excuse me. He's happy. He he and Louise only lived together in the same house for 4 years, and then Bunny went off to college. So Louise was very, very small, and so she doesn't remember a lot of him living in the house, living in our home as a brother. There are certain things that she remembers, and as kids get older and teenagers get older, they don't want to be bothered with their younger siblings, and that's kind of how it was. And he was not in charge of babysitting her. He was not in charge of helping with her or anything like that. I don't necessarily think it's a sibling's responsibility to take that on. I might be getting off on a little bit of a digression here, but he was fine with it, Lisa. He was fine with it. He didn't really say a whole bunch, but he was fine. He didn't go, ew, I don't want a sister or anything like that. So I think he was pretty good with it. So I hope that was good, Lisa. Okay, so next is Carmen's question, and her question is, how do I feel about tattoos on women? And do you have any tattoos? Do I have any tattoos? So, how do I feel about tattoos on women? Tattoos on women are okay. Yes, I have a tattoo. I have one tattoo that I got when I was 40 years old. I think tattoos on women can be okay, depending on the tattoo, depending on the location of the tattoo, and depending on the size of the tattoo. I think it's very, very personal. And when I chose to get my tattoo, which I was 40 years old when I got my tattoo, so I waited a very, very long time. And it was very, very important to me that I get a tattoo in a location that if I gained weight, it wouldn't change the shape of the tattoo at all, and that it would not be visible when I was wearing clothing, including a bathing suit. So my tattoo cannot be seen by anyone when I am fully clothed, including when I'm wearing a bathing suit. And it is in a location that, gaining weight isn't going to disfigure the tattoo. Now, I can tell you this, if I had gotten a tattoo in my 20s, I probably would have more than just the one tattoo. But I think since I waited till later in my life, when I was 40 to get the tattoo, I was satisfied with what I got. Do I want to get another tattoo? Yes, I absolutely would love to get another tattoo. But at this stage in my life, at my age, I'm not going to get another tattoo as much as I want it, because I see women that are in their 60s and 70s that obviously got tattoos much younger, and it is not a good look. It is not a good look. I think tattoos are a wonderful expression, of someone's personality. I've seen some beautiful, beautiful tattoos, and I've seen some really, really bad tattoos. And Chewy has multiple tattoos. My daughter-in-law has multiple tattoos, and Bunny has a tattoo, or at least as far as we know, he only has a tattoo. But anyway, I like tattoos. I like tattoos on guys. I don't like tattoos on guys that are in feminine locations. There are certain locations on a man that I don't think a tattoo belongs, because it would be where a woman would put a tattoo. And vice versa. There are certain places on women that I don't like to see tattoos, because that is more of a masculine place to put a tattoo. Does that make sense? I don't like to see tattoos on the feet. I don't like to see tattoos on the hands. You know, that's just a personal preference of mine. I don't necessarily like to see tattoos when people are clothed. You know, but then again, I've seen some beautiful, beautiful tattoos that are, you know, able to be seen. I think that being tattooed is a trend. Will the people that are very heavily tattooed be happy, later in their life with being heavily tattooed? I don't know. I don't know if they will or not. I would venture to guess probably not, because your skin really changes as you get older, and tattoos really change as they age. And, you know, in order to maintain the integrity of a tattoo, you really, really, really have to take good care of it. And, you know, you shouldn't put you shouldn't have water beating down on it in the shower, or you shouldn't expose it to sunlight, you know, and things like that. So, you know, in order to keep it in pristine condition. But even doing all of that, you run into, you know, fading and bleeding and, you know, things like that with a tattoo. And I don't care how good your tattoo is not going to look the same it did 25 years down the road. For anybody that is thinking about getting a tattoo, think long and think hard before you get the tattoo. Number one. Number two, think long and hard about the location that you're going to put the tattoo and the size of the tattoo. You know, because you do not want to be an 80 or a 90-year-old woman sitting in that nursing home with a big old damn tattoo from one shoulder to the next across your back. That is just a bunch of ridiculous. But, you know, I mean, I'm pro tattoo and I'm con tattoo, if that makes any sense at all. You know, I've seen tattoos that I think are absolutely beautiful, that mean something to the person. And then I've seen tattoos that are absolutely ridiculous, that I think to myself, what was that person thinking? Did they not have somebody tell them that that was a ridiculous thing to do? So, you know, I like tattoos I like tattoos that are tasteful and that are discreet. I don't think that having sleeves and legs covered and tattoos everywhere, I don't think that that's very attractive. At least I don't think it is. You know, but to each their own. To each their own. But yes, I do have a tattoo. I have nothing against tattoos. And I don't have anything against tattoos on women, as long as they are tasteful and discreet. So, I hope that answered your question, Carmen. I hope that answered your question. And no, I'm not going to tell you where my tattoo is. I'm not going to tell you. But you cannot see it when I'm dressed, and you cannot see it when I'm in a bathing suit. So think about that. I hope that during this Q&A that you all might be enjoying a cup of tea, or doing some crafting, or doing something that you want to do. You all know how I love to talk, and I'm going to elaborate on each and every one of these questions. So, you know, this isn't going to be a zip, zip, zip kind of a Q&A. So Marcella asked a question, and she asks, do you have a particular cleaning routine that you go by? Well, I used to have a cleaning routine when I was younger and more, you know, had more gumption and more motivation and things. But I do have the routine that I do vacuum Lilleybugglane every single day, because you know that we have 3 cats. I do have the laundry done once a week, at least once a week. I try to keep up on the ironing. I quick clean the bathrooms once a week. And then I usually do a deep cleaning of the bathrooms once a month. I do try and do the kitchen floor as often as it needs to be done. Again, there's only 3 of us living in the house, so we're not like trudging through the dirt and the mud and all that kind of stuff when we're outside. So, you know, a good broom sweeping and a good Swiffer usually is good enough for the kitchen. But, you know, there are times, usually twice a month or so, when I do the kitchen floor to get it nice and clean. I do wipe off the counters multiple times a day, wipe off the kitchen table, you know, because you know that the cats have the run of the house. And so, but I don't have a particular routine, such as Monday is I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday I do this, Thursday I do this, Friday I do this. I will tell you one of the reasons why I don't have to do a lot of cleaning of the house during the week. We have a policy here at Lilleybugglane that there is a place for everything and everything in its place. So when you use something, you put it back where you found it, and that's where it belongs. So there's not a lot of things left out. There's not a lot of clutter. There's not a lot of scattering of things. Do you know what I mean? Because everything has a place and everything has a home, and that's where it goes. So, you know, if you keep things neat and tidy in that aspect, then you really don't, you know, it's just kind of the deep cleaning or the daily chore, vacuuming, wiping down the counters, things like that. You know, the weekly is like the dusting and, you know, changing the sheets on the beds and doing the laundry and things like that. So, but I don't have like a Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday I do this, Thursday I do this, Friday I do this. I don't have that kind of a cleaning routine. I think when I was younger, there were, you know, I did a lot more cleaning than I do now. But I was a lot more motivated then. And, you know, it was just, I was a lot more motivated to do it, and I'm not now. So, but I don't have a specific. I always thought it was cute because, you know those tea towels? Have you ever seen those tea towels where it's like Monday is washing day, Tuesday's ironing day, Wednesday is baking day, Thursday is mending day, Friday is, you know, this day, Saturday, and then Sunday. I always loved those tea towels with the little picture of the representation of what that day meant. And, you know, back in the day, my grandmother's day or my great-grandmother's day, you know, those were routines. Those were cleaning routines. But, you know, other than what I just talked about, no, I don't have a cleaning routine. I just hit the wrong button on the phone. So anyway, so JV has a very, very interesting question. Does it happen often to meet your spouse in the military if you were raised military? And does it happen often that your friends are military if you were raised military? And is it common for military people to kind of stick together? That is a very, very interesting question. My father was in the military. He was in the military when I was born. So I was born and raised in a military environment or a military culture. Most of my parents' friends early on in their married life and in my life, most of those people were military people. Either they were co-workers of my father, or they were people that, you know, my mom met somewhere, another military wife, or people that my dad worked with, or something like that. I think in times past, there was a military culture. There was a military community. And I think that in the past, a lot of the military people stuck together because they were all kind of living the same life. Do you know what I mean? Being the life of the military. But nowadays, I don't think that the military culture or the military community is as strong or as tight-knit as it was when I was younger. I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that people commute now away from military bases. They don't kind of cluster on a military post to live. You know, you're able to live like outside in the civilian world, and civilian means not military. That's the term that the military uses for somebody who's not in the military. I don't know how common it is to be raised military and then to marry military, unless you are in a highly concentrated military area. It was never my intention to marry military, but I think it was always going to be that I married military. Not because I felt safer in that kind of community or anything like that. It was just, you know, you kind of seek out what you know, if that makes sense. So let me just scoot this back a little bit because I have to kind of stretch my legs out a little bit here because they're falling asleep. You know, so I think I probably kind of knew that I was going to marry military, or I was going to marry a military man. What branch of service that person was going to be in, I wasn't quite sure, but I kind of figured I would marry somebody that was in the military. It is common to have friends that are military. You know, the only thing I can liken it to now is Bunny and daughter-in-law live on a very, very large military installation. And so within that installation is everything that they need to live. And, you know, if it was their choice, they could just stay on that installation and, you know, live their lives. But, you know, they can go off, they can leave that installation and shop and, you know, go to the doctors or go to the dentist or things like that. So, you know, but the community is a very tight-knit community just for the fact that, you know, it's a high concentration of military people. Does that make sense? It's kind of like birds of a feather flock together. You know, you kind of go with what you're comfortable with, and you go with what you know. And you go with people that kind of share the same experiences that you do. So, I guess if that makes any sense at all. I will tell you this. And I will be very, very honest about this. And again, you all know that I digress and I talk. And, you know, these questions open up other subjects to talk about. So I will tell you this. If you have never had any experience at all with the military, either growing up in the military, growing up around a military installation, or knowing anybody that was in the military, and you you become associated with the military. Either you marry into the military, meaning you marry a military person, or you have a child that goes into the military or a spouse that goes into the military. It can be a totally different world once you get into it. Being raised military was not an easy thing. We moved very, very frequently. Usually every 18 to 24 months we moved. In my very young age, or my young childhood. And, you know, if you marry into the military and you've never been associated with the military or known any military spouses or anything like that, you know, a lot of women or girls that marry into the military do have problems adjusting in the military because of the work hours that their spouse may have, or the stress that their spouse may be under because of their job, or the travel that you know it may entail, or leaving the United States to go overseas to live, or, you know, leaving your hometown to, you know, because you want to live with your husband or your wife because they're stationed somewhere. So it can be a very, very different world if you have no experience at all with the military, you know, going into it. So if you have a child that goes into military, it can be a very, very different experience for you as a parent because you've never had any experience with the military at all in the past. Does that make sense at all? I don't know. I have counseled, I've given talks to wives groups, military wives groups, and especially to young military wives that are just coming into the military because they married their spouses and coming in. And I have given talks or presentations to newly married military wives or spouses to help them adjust to military life, and, you know, just kind of, you know, let them know that there are pitfalls that they can avoid and that there are things that they should be aware of, and, you know, that kind of a thing. So it, you know, it just takes some adjusting and stuff if you've never had any encounter or involvement with the military. You know, the military is so not what it used to be. You know, it's not what it was when my dad when my dad enlisted in the military, and when I was young. It certainly isn't like that, and it certainly has changed a lot since Chewy went into the military, and it has certainly changed a lot since Chewy retired from the military. So, you know, the military is constantly changing and becoming, you know, evolving with the times and, you know, things like that. So, but I can only speak from my experience. So, that was a lot, wasn't it? It was. And I totally went off topic. So I will try to be a little shorter answering these questions, but that's something that I've always, you know, that's something that I've always wanted to kind of talk about, was the fact that, you know, going into a world, so to speak, that you know nothing about as a spouse or as a parent, can be very, very stressful. And, you know, I guess I just stuck with what I knew. I stuck with what I knew. And, you know, I grew up military. I knew the military. I kind of had an idea about how to be a military spouse because I watched my mother and I watched my mother's friends. And, you know, so I knew what being married to a military person entailed. So that's what I was comfortable with. There you go. There's the short answer. There's the short answer. Oh, let's see. your question's next, Molly. Does Louise like to craft, and do you have a craft sewing room? No, Louise does not like to craft. I'm so upset. Neither of my kids like to craft. Neither of them. Now, Louise is just getting started into cross stitching, barely. And I did teach her how to crochet, which she didn't seem too interested in. Louise is a bookworm. That's all she wants to do is read. As long as she has a book in her hand or she is dancing to music, she is happy. So, no, Louise is not a crafter. She likes to watch crafting and she enjoys seeing the results of crafting, but she is not a crafter. Do I have a craft room? The dining room table is my craft room. At this point, with my eyesight the way it is, and I do have problems with dexterity and my wrists and things, I don't craft as much as I used to craft. I have had craft rooms in the past. I would like to turn Dirty Little Secret number 3, is that it? Into like a craft room, office, she shack, lady cave, whatever you want to call it. I would like to turn that into kind of like a craft room, but I don't have a set specific area for a craft room, unfortunately. But if I can get my gumption up and I can find my mojo, it would only take me a couple weeks to get things spiffed up, and I could have a craft room if I wanted one. But as of right now, no, I don't. And can I tell you, I wish Louise liked to craft. I wish she would. I wish she would like to craft. It's a lot of fun. We could do a lot of things together, but it's just not something that she's into. So it's not something that she wants to do, so she doesn't do it. Okay, had to get up and stretch my legs again because I've been talking too much. Oh, dear. Okay, so Mark is the next question. Mark asked the next question. Is there anything like magazines or items that you love that are no longer around that you wish were still around? Yes, 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 yes. Yes. So, let me think right off the top of my head. One of the things that I absolutely love from the past that is still around, but it is totally different, is Apple Jacks. Raise your hand. Raise your hand, right? Apple Jacks. I can remember, oh my gosh, on a Saturday morning, eating like 2 bowls of Apple Jacks for breakfast. I loved Apple Jacks. They were my absolutely favorite cereal in the whole wide world. They do not taste anything like they did back in the day. I wish the old Apple Jacks would come back. I really, really, really wish the old Apple Jacks would come back. But that's not going to happen, is it? No! But yeah, Apple Jacks. I wish Apple Jacks would come back. The old Apple Jacks. Seriously, the old Apple Jacks. Oh, I love those. Oh, I just love those. And you know what I'm talking about too, don't you? Because now the Apple Jacks, aren't they like the orange rings and the green rings they're mixed? Yeah, and they don't taste the same at all. They don't taste the same at all. And I miss the old Apple Jacks. But anyway, so that's one of the things that I really, really miss from back in the day. Magazines, yes, there are magazines. Who remembers the old 17 magazine from when we were teenagers? Who remembers those? Because I wish I got 17 magazine for quite a few years when I was younger. I wish I had kept those for Louise. One, because they'd be fabulous for her to look through all the old, the retro pictures, which are now retro. But I wish that I had kept my old 17 magazines. Now, I realize that 17 magazine is still for sale. I realize that, but has anybody looked at one of the 17 magazines today? Yeah, no. No. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. And if you haven't, take a look, because the articles that are in today's 17 magazine, are absolutely not appropriate. I'm just going to say it. In my mind, they're not appropriate. I mean, seriously, what teenage girl needs to learn how to, give a blowjob? Seriously. I mean, I'm serious. I know, right? I said it. But that was an article that I saw in one of the 17 magazines because Louise had asked. She doesn't get American Girl anymore, and she doesn't get Girls World anymore because she's older now. And she asked if there was a magazine that she could get. And I had remembered 17 magazine, and I had looked at the Walmart, and I opened it up, and that was the article. Seriously, it was the article. Yeah, and that is not appropriate at all. So, no, I am not going to get 17 magazine. But I remember getting 17 magazine back in the day. And, I remember, like, how do you know he likes you? Or, that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember those articles. But there was none of the stuff that there is today. How to turn him on. I mean, really? 17 magazine! I know, right? No. And who remembers Teen Magazine? Not Teen Beat, but Teen Magazine. I remember that too. And I would liken that to, I know there's Teen Vogue, but that is a totally different ball of wax. Teen Magazine was kind of like a woman's world for teens, for teen girls. Oh, I love that magazine. I loved that magazine. I so wish I had kept all of my issues. I really, really do. Because, a lot of the stuff that's in there, that was in there then, is applies to now. But yeah, so Apple Jacks and 17 magazine and Teen Magazine from back in the late 70s into the 80s, into the early 80s, like mid 70s to like 83, 84, 85. Right, them. Those. Raise your hand if you remember those. I know, right? Seriously. I don't, I'm so glad I'm not a teenager in today's world. I am so glad. I'm just so glad. So Sissy has the next question. So Sissy wants to know, why do you buy the flattest onions you can find when you buy an onion? So you all know when I do grocery hauls, which I haven't done one in a long time, but when I do grocery hauls and I buy onions, I always tell you that I buy the flattest, roundest onion I can find. And, it's just, if I can't find a Vidalia onion, then I'm going to buy a sweet onion. And regardless of if it's a Vidalia or if it's a sweet onion, I buy the squattiest, roundest onion that I can find. Round meaning around, not round meaning like this. Flat and round, like a disc or like a discus or like a hockey puck, like that. Because I have read and I have been told by, proper Southern ladies that Vidalia onions are squatty and round. Vidalias are squatty and round, and that the squattier they are and the rounder they are, the better they are. So, that's why I always choose the squattiest and the roundest onions that I can find. So, and I'll usually only use Vidalias and sweet onions. And I have to tell you a little story. I may have told you this a long time ago because I'm having a little bit of deja vu, but I do have to tell you this story. So I was in the Walmart one day, and this was in the early spring, and I was in the produce section, and there was a woman and her mother. And the reason I'm going to say woman is because I'm guessing she was probably around a little younger than me, but a woman. And then her mother, who was quite a bit older looking than me. Quite a bit older than me and the woman that she was with. And they were standing by the onions. And the mother So Walmart had a display of, and it said Vidalia onions. And the older lady walked up to him and said, "Oh, look, they have Vidalia onions." And the daughter said, now these were just regular onions, round and, just round onions. And they said Vidalia, on the sign. And the younger woman said to her mother, she said, "Mom," she says, "those are not Vidalia onions." And the mother said, "Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Look, it says right there, Vidalia Vidalias." And the girl said, "Mom, these are not Vidalia onions. They're not." And so by that time I had come up and was looking at the onions, and the girl said to her mom, she said, "Mom, look how round this onion is." She says, "Vidalias aren't this round." She says, "They're short." So that's just a story that I wanted to share so I could keep on talking about this topic. Okay, Sharon's got the next question, and this is going to be an easy one to answer. What's the craziest thing you've ever did, and did you have a regret doing it? So, I can't say what the craziest thing I ever did was, because not a lot of people know about it, and I don't want a lot of people to know about it. So, I'm not going to divulge what the craziest thing I ever did was, but I don't regret doing it one single bit. Not one single bit. But I will tell you this. I will assure you this, okay? I will assure you this. The craziest thing I ever did not involve harming anyone. I will tell you that. And I do not regret one single bit. And I try very, very hard in my life not to regret the things that I do. And there are very few things that I do regret doing, but the craziest thing I ever did, I don't regret that one single bit. Not one single bit. So, thank you for your question, Sharon. Yeah, I'm not giving away my secrets, Sharon. Sorry. No, sorry. Not giving away my secrets. Not giving away my secrets. Okay, so here we go. Joyce asks, who is my favorite host or hostess on QVC? Do I have a favorite clothing brand? And have I ever taken a studio tour? So the answer to the studio tour is no. We have never gone to Westchester, Pennsylvania and toured QVC. I think Louise might want to do something like that, but I have no desire to do that. It's just not something that I think I would, I don't know. I just don't think I would do that. My favorite host is probably David Venable. My favorite hostess is probably, I'm going to say Mary Beth Rowe. And you will know when I say Mary Beth Rowe that I am old school QVC. I was watching QVC back in the day when Kathy Levin and Mary Beth Rowe, Judy Kroll, Jane Rudolph, Tracy, when they were the women that were on QVC. There are so many of them now. Just in the past 2 days watching QVC, I've seen 3 people on there that I have never seen before. Never, ever, ever seen before. Yeah, so that's it. David Venable. Although I did like Bob Bowersox back in the day, but then I thought he got a little bit too big for his britches once his cooking stuff started taking off. He became like the resident foodie at QVC back in the day. He was like the first foodie on TV, actually, if you really stop and think about it. But anyway, I used to like Bob Bowersox, and remember he used to do like was it Cooking with Bob or something like that, where he would cook and show the cookware and things like that. And then I think that's the only guy that I liked back in that time. But I remember when Dan Wheeler and they were all young. I know, right? And then Mary Beth Rowe, she didn't even have any kids when I was watching her. And then I remember, her getting pregnant with her children. And then, yeah, but David Venable and Mary Beth Rowe probably are the two that would be my favorites at QVC. And no, I have never taken a studio tour. Okay, and last but certainly not least is our friend Charity Lee. And we all know and love Charity here in our circle of friends. And she is a fellow YouTuber also. And Charity asks, how did you come up with Lilleybugglane? So, very, very good question, and how appropriate to end our question and answer video with that question. Lilleybugglane was a name that I came up with. I've always loved ladybugs, and I kind of wanted to incorporate ladybug somehow in, you know, in what I was doing. And we were just kind of fooling around with it one day and, you know, going through different names to kind of put in with, you know, to kind of make a brand or form a brand name. You know, I've had quite a few businesses, at-home businesses, and used Lilleybugglane as my business name. I wanted a name for eBay, actually, because I was getting ready to start selling on eBay when Louise was young. And I wanted a name on eBay that would kind of give me a brand to kind of, you know, kind of work in. And so at first it was just Lillybug, and then I just kind of added the lane to it, and then I just kind of smushed it all together, and, you know, that's how it became Lilleybugglane. But that is the name or the brand that I have, that I am known under in a lot of different areas in my life. So yeah, that's kind of how I came up with it. I wanted something that I could transfer into different areas or different areas of doing things that would carry over and would be unique enough yet easy enough for people to remember. You know, unique enough for people to remember, but that it would encompass a lot. Do you know what I mean? So it could encompass like speaking engagements, or it could encompass like tutoring or music lessons, or, you know, sewing, doing that kind of thing, any kind of boutique items that I wanted to make or sell, having a channel here on YouTube. You know, it just kind of, it's a name that I came up with. My mother's maiden name is Lily. And so, you know, that was kind of part of it too. And kind of like a version of, my given name. So it was just you know, something that just kind of, formed and then reformed and then became Lilleybugglane. So, I absolutely love it. You know, a lot of people, refer to my home as Lilleybugglane. And I've always thought too, like, you know, I had a dream at one point, that Chewy and I would live out in the country, you know, on a little farm called Lilleybugglane, and that's what I would name it. I think I probably got the idea looking at like cottage magazines and cottage. My foot is really asleep. I mean, dead asleep. I know, right? You're like, come on, Lala, finish answering this question so we can be done with this video. I totally understand. But I think part of it too was, you know, I've always been into country decorating. I'm a country girl at heart, cottage decorating, shabby chic, you know, things like that. And looking through those magazines, I would always run across someone that would have named their home or named their property or named their farm or named their, area that they live in or something like that. And I always loved it. And so I kind of toyed around with the idea, of someday living, naming our home, like Lisa Vanderpump lives in, Villa Rosa. Her house's name is Villa Rosa, and, like that. And, so that's just kind of how I came up with Lilleybugglane. It's just kind of a lot of different concepts brought together that make up Lilleybugglane. So that's how Lilleybugglane came to be. So, and it will always be Lilleybugglane. It will. It has to be, right? Think about it. It has to always be Lilleybugglane. And I will always be associated with Lilleybugglane. Think about that one too. There's a little clue for you. So thank you all so much for all of your wonderful, wonderful questions. I have absolutely enjoyed answering your questions, probably more than you wanted me to answer your questions, but answering these questions did bring up a lot, opened up a lot of doors to me kind of, talking about other things. So, and it's always good to do that and always good to spend time together. So thank you all so much for all of your wonderful, wonderful questions. As always, I am always happy to answer questions as long as they are not too personal. And please always feel free to ask questions. Please leave comment. Feel free. Now is when I flub it up, right? Now is when I flub it up. Please feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know if how you would answer any of these questions. I would be absolutely just thrilled to know how you would answer some of these questions. We can certainly continue the conversation down below. I appreciate each and every one of you. I think of you often. You are never far in my thoughts. I hope that you are all happy, healthy, and safe, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Good night.